Moving on to number 4, Wii Sports Resort. Wii Sports Resort is a Wii Sports game or a sport every game, where you would likely to be experienced on an island resort. Each game takes place on an island of Woohoo, this being my favorite multiplayer versus game on the console, with multiple sports, then more Wii Sports, improving upon games that have already had cemented legacy in the Wii Sports. The creativity and devotion to this game is admirable, as is evident in the game, with each sport you play feeling like a resort. First, and one of my favorites, you've got swordplay. You would not do this normally at a resort, but it's still really fun. Having multiple modes inside one game, Speed Slice, Versus, Showdown, and Showdown. Versus is where you and your opponents are on top of an area above the water, and the goal is to duel your opponent off the edge. My favorite mode, Showdown, is where you progress through environments and areas, cutting down waves of many enemies, making you feel like a hero. I mean, you feel like a hero just bashing through everyone else, but you feel like you're just doing all of this like actual sword martial arts, but your character's doing awkward Wiimote lunge. I especially like it when you're on a high point. It can knock enemies off. It is hilarious, but you don't just need to mindlessly plow through enemies for your areas of the game. You focus on patience and wait for the right opening in your opponent's defenses. I won't be talking about all the games for the sake of time, but I will be talking about the ones that aren't self-explanatory or are my favorites. Just so you can see them, here's all the sports. Next up, I'm going to talk about archery. Archery gives you a series of levels and environments where the target gets further away, where you use your skills with the nunchuck, act like you're pulling a real bow. There are also factors at play like wind, making for interesting gameplay. Next up, my favorite and arguably the best mode, Air Sports, which has 3 modes all on its own: Free Flight or Island Flyover, Skydiving, and Dogfight. Free Flight being a one-player mode where you fly freely around the island on a time limit, collecting landmarks on your map. Areas on the island, some easy, some harder to reach than others. These landmarks giving you history and background for the island when you go back and look at it. You can also see all the areas from the other sports, like the basketball courts or the beach where you do the frisbee, or the swordplay arena. There's a landmark for everything, and it has an actual location, which gives it a sense of validity. And for background and history, giving you so much to do. And if that wasn't enough, you can go around shooting people's balloons and making them pissed at you. That's one of my favorite things to do. The game even rewards you for it. And if that wasn't enough, there is even progression in this game when you get more cannons for your plane, or unlock the blimp with your face on it, and the Easter egg with the yellow plane with the flares. It's awesome. If all that doesn't suit you, you can always do aerial stunts with the motion control. That would you fly anyways. But you can do barrel rolls if the stick is an analog, so I just flip my Wiimote in the air and see what awesome stuff happens.
You're becoming more like your father.
The cool feature of Air Sports is that you can even change the time of day, which makes things that weren't there before at the bonfire at the beach. You can even explore areas outside of Woohoo Island. You can even land on the water, do some whale watching. My only complaint is the time limit. I mean, it's kind of pointless. Next is another awesome one, which is Dogfight. It's a 2-player versus, meaning that you can't go against AI, which is kind of sad, because I would have loved to do a dogfight style race battle against Matt. You go head to head in the air battle. Each of you has a balloon on your tails with X amount of balloons, that being your health. The objective of the game is to shoot your opponent's balloons. This leads to some intense chases and aerial stunts to get an edge on your opponents. Another awesome feature in this mode is that every other minute, a balloon regen appears at a landmark, which allows you to get more balloons, it becoming a race or an ambush hotspot to draw you in. Another strategy could be landing on the water in a cavern or cove, and then to pop out to ambush your opponent, having a very competitive mode. The only other thing I could ask for from this would be a 4-player mode, which would be mega chaotic, but it would be super fun. So Air Sports itself seemed like a game on their own that would have the 3 core games, 6 out of 12 others, which also have their own sub-modes, giving Wii Sports Resort number 4 on this list. Something else I really like about the Air Sports is that there's actually a feature to just turn off your engine. I like trying to fly with that, with only the physics. It actually has lift physics in this game, and that's just devotion. And that was just one of the little modes, and I felt like I was talking about an entire game. Wii Super Mario Galaxy 2 because I didn't have the original as a kid for whatever reason. I don't understand the story of the game that much because, like I said, I haven't finished Mario Galaxy 1 yet on 3D All-Stars, so let's just talk about the gameplay. For each of the galaxies you visit, there are a couple stars for you to find 3D exploration style, but it's not the Super Mario 64 style of exploration. It's like 3D World and Super Mario 64 kind of blended together, but slightly more on the exploration side than feeling like a Mario game, but it might vary dependent on each area of the game or level. It also would have set linearity quite a bit. It's mostly pretty linear for a lot of Mario games, needs explaining. Besides, the music is amazing. This game not only had Bowser's Road as an orchestra remix, but also Bomb Battlefield theme. They even had the Galaxy version of Whomp's Fortress called Throwback Galaxy. The reason this game gets number 3 is because of its linearity, still 3D open areas, but slightly frustrating elements, because Thwomps kill you in one hit. Dunzo, kaput. As soon as you get hit, done. Also the detection for those guys, if you're like one polygon underneath them, just dead. Also, 3 Bowser fights in this game are the exact same, but it isn't mixed up at all that much, besides health or a few coins here and there. Like Mario 64 Bowser fights that change up, or have more health, or have different areas. It actually changes it up a little bit, but I just wish that was not just the same fight over and over again as much. With the special bosses and Bowser Jr.'s special fights, the galaxy gravity aspect is pretty cool, but in spherical areas there's that one spot where the controls are all scuffed up because of the gravity makeup and the camera rotation. The level design for each place is great, creative, no area in the game feels empty. You can easily pass by any enemy you want though, for the most part. One of the things this game is known for is the power-ups, which go great with the mechanics like the cloud, fire, and ice, so much more, giving Super Mario Galaxy 2 the number 3 spot. That may have sounded like I said a lot of cons of Super Mario Galaxy 2, but that's just because there isn't much to say about how good it is, because the biggest thing about it is just the level design created fun, which is the same fallacy that goes for the next game, which is... Donkey Kong Country Returns, number 2! This story goes that these Majora Mask Tiki things that creep me out a little, at least to this day, still steal all of Diddy and Donkey Kong's banana stash and go on a rampage around the island to get their food back, from what I call Mega Tiki, and taking down all the underlings Majora's Mask Tikis in the process. A bit off topic, but the people always say that Kirby is evil because he's short-tempered and rampaging entire worlds because he wanted some cake. Also, Donkey Kong when a wild animal steps on one of his bananas. Okay, back on topic. The game follows Donkey Kong Diddy through an island with immersive environments, jumping awesome music to go along with each area that suits it perfectly of each style of music. Has some of my favorite music ever in gaming, as well as beautiful environments for a Wii game. I just wish there were more environmental sounds to go with it. Otherwise, that would have been fantastic, like more water sounds in this awesome climbing up a waterfall abandoned mill thing. Now let's talk about gameplay. No level ever feels or plays the same. Each mechanic suits the areas like whales, pirate ships, on a beach, and crab enemies, or jungles having trees or ruins. The platforming is perfect, and there's so much to do and explore in each of the levels. Each area feels like a fantastic platforming level, while also feel like you're traversing an environment. There's even bonus areas, which are secret bonus areas that were really cool to unearth, which are very rewarding to find. Donkey Kong can also endlessly roll and get up to barreling speeds and plow through enemies like a Sonic game, except it's actually good. Some may think that being a Donkey Kong game, it must be pretty easy. No. For a very experienced player, going to World 2, it's actually pretty difficult. Decently challenging. But that's super fun challenge in the game. I don't want to talk about the Tikis because the game is not for 3-year-olds. Small spoiler warning for the bosses, but not for the story. Okay, here we go. This game is not Peggy 3. The Tikis literally possess each of the bosses and try and help to fight against you. And the ominous, freaking amazing music doesn't help their case. I know a lot of people say, oh, they're hypnotizing them. But no, if you look closely, they actually go inside of them and leave outside of them after you defeat the bosses. They're possessing them in a game that's rated for 3-year-olds. And at the end of the game, when you're close to beating the final Mega Tiki, all the underling Majora Tikis give up their lives by being doused in molten banana to become part of him. part of this video and tell me that isn't a little unsettling for a Donkey Kong game, which is why I don't think I'm wrong in saying that this game is the Majora's Mask of the DK series, besides the fact that these tikis remind me of the Majora's Mask. On the topic of bosses, one of my fondest memories when I was getting to beat one of my fondest memories of when I was a kid is whenever you defeat a boss, you deliver a finishing blow where you shake the Wiimote very fast. Remember them shaking the Wiimote at the end to beat them up, each shake getting a new hit like a little mini game. I always remember getting so happy and into it when I beat them, because I was scared of them when I was younger. I would be so creeped out whenever the tikis possessed the bosses, and I still remember I do this to this day. I shake the Wiimote as violently as possible with one hand to beat up the tiki.
Bitter, shake them off. And just beat the devil out of it.
This game goes with an already put in place legacy of the original Donkey Kong Country, and improving on every aspect with an engaging, fun blast of a Donkey Kong game, giving it number 2 on my top 9 Wii games. Here we go, the big boy, the top titan, literally number 1. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. This is likely a very unpopular opinion on this game, but this is my list, so hear me out. The story follows Link, of course, on his journey to save Zelda from Earth. But that may sound strange. Why is he on his journey to save her from Earth? Well, the way I understand it, the Earth has fallen into calamity by dark forces, and the goddess of Hyrule gave the last remaining people sanctuary above the clouds, in an area called Skyloft, hosting so much to do with lots of side quests and lore importance. I mean, this game was the first in the official Zelda timeline following Link. He is still learning to be a warrior. Skyloft isn't just an area for shops and home base, it houses many secrets, mysteries, and side quests to do. This game even has a collection system, like Animal Crossing. Back on topic, everyone kept above the clouds and nothing couldn't go through, nothing could get out, nothing could get in. And Zelda is down there, and Link has to go save her, of course. So he gains the goddess sword and has the goddess open a passage for Link down through the clouds to go save Zelda, though. Creative, open, and fun, dangerous dungeons and environments. I would talk about one of my favorite aspects of the story game, but it's a spoiler, so I'll leave it out. Skyward Sword was the first Zelda game to introduce motion-controlled swordplay. It's one-to-one, and it works fairly well. Gameplay is very open areas that feel like Mario 64 of Zelda, and it is perfect. It is so much fun to traverse each time you return. You can progress in any area, any direction you like. Most of the time, something that this game is set apart from the beginning is that before everything goes wrong, something that sets this game apart is it actually puts you in before everything starts going wrong. It shows you what happens before the calamity, or before Zelda gets captured, instead of just showing Zelda or cutscene of Zelda getting captured, or cutscene of Princess Peach be taken by 50,000th time. After traversing every area and thinking you've won, skip spoiler, you have to go back to each of the previous areas to access parts you ever saw before you have made it harder to play through. The motion control swordplay works great with the enemies, but the enemies aren't just mindless. They react if you change your guard, they change if you miss their attack, or if you hit their guard. They were countered to defeat some enemies. You'll have to use your head. The bosses in this game are super fun and among my favorite in any Zelda game. Also perfect with the motion controls are the dungeon explorations with creative mechanics, puzzles, and enemy types that are really rewarding to complete and unearth. The dungeons reflect on the environment being an ancient volcano cavern, temple ruins for a jungle. Every dungeon and area requires some degree of thinking and making every step of the way on this journey even more rewarding and involving. Every time you come back to the game, there's always something to do that makes it fun. Being an area around Skyloft exploring volcanoes and Elden environments is always just as fun no matter how many times you return to it. Giving this game number 1 for my top Wii game.